Keller here, Enthusiast Auto Group. We're at EAG's HQ, and today we're going to drive this 1990 E30 M3 Sport Evolution. It's a single model year car, 1990, just 600 built for the world. Recently brought in about 3 years ago under the 25-year rule. It's I think the 22nd or 3rd Sport Evo that we've been able to qualify and put our stamp of approval on. We are still going through the history and learning more about it, but there's enough major markers here that we're looking forward to keeping this inside the EAG revolving collection. It has been PPI'd in the workshop, so we've given it a safety check. That's step one. We've taken some good photos, and this is your first opportunity to see this car. It's not yet marketed anywhere. It's not on our website anywhere else. This is an EAG first look, and those that are subscribing to our YouTube channel are certainly being rewarded with those early opportunities to see what's coming in, and we've got some other stuff coming in that's also quite new. So let's take our drive. If you've not yet driven an E30 M3, I certainly encourage you to try to find somebody, a good fellow enthusiast that would share their car with you, just to have that experience, because it's a very, very magical, very analog experience that it has to be at the highest of my favorite top list of cars to drive. And the Sport Evos, well, it's the pinnacle of the model line and chassis, and well, you'll see. Let's go have some fun. Here we are driving the Sport Evo. Favorite things with E30 M3s, you can simply drive the heck out of them, drive them hard, rev for days and days and days, and you're still not going all that fast. It is a great way to get the full experience and do so in a much more safe and exciting manner, knowing that driving slow cars fast has proven always to be more exciting than obviously driving fast cars slow. Before setting out on a drive, let's take a quick lap and just do an overall condition assessment, as well as talk about a couple of the changes and modifications on this Sport Evo. It does not have many. They are subtle. They are very tasteful. Starting out with the hella smoked Euro headlights. Those are a pretty hard bit of kit to find, especially these days. It does have the Euro grills that would be specific to both Euros, but also the Sport Evo. These will be filled in as opposed to broken there on the US cars. But on the Sport Evos, they actually have foam trim, as well as the fender gaskets. We got to get that extra 1/10 or 1,000th of a second around the racetrack. And speaking of racetrack, the DTM-inspired mono wiper that actually has two blades. I've never seen a little follower blade like this. This is quite cool. I am not sure if that's a genuine BMW part or not. If you know, throw a comment down there. I'd love to learn that. That's a part I've certainly not seen before. We have a set of Coney adjustables with springs on the car. That's probably going to be the most aggressive modification from stock. The ride quality, though, well, we'll see as we go through the drive. Again, I haven't really driven it other than just down the street. BMW anti-theft system with this cylindrical key. Theft has always been a problem, but certainly when you've got a really cool car that everybody would want in period, and certainly today. Interior is really, really choice. Red seat belts, which again will be standard issue for the Sport Evo. It's a rear sun blind, a roller blind, as it's called. And then I have to say, the coolest, most unique thing about this car in total is this awesome audio system. I mean, if you got a radio that's that high fidelity, you're going to need a nice equalizer like that. But there's a CD cartridge. That's kind of weird. Well, behind this little lovely plate is exactly that, a Blaupunk CD player. I have never seen something like this before, but that is genius. That is just too cool. Obviously, very, very sneaky and easy to throw in, and I don't think you're going to have a problem of anybody wanting to steal that. 21,695 kilometers, and well, yeah, that's super low. I guess we maybe could start out with that as the feature point of this car, because not very many will have that low of an odometer. The car's condition, especially on the underside, we probably should at some point do an undercarriage video of this car. I do have some photos if anybody wants to see what the underside of a 13 to 14,000 mile Sport Evo looks like. It's really, really, really nice, covered in the yellow cosmoline that these cars would have had in period. And we do have some evidence of some services, and the cool thing is it was serviced at BMW Classic in Munich. This was at 21,235 kilometers back in 2018. There's a couple more stickers on the other side from that same service visit. On the Sport Evos, you'll notice the red plug caps. They'll be black on all the standard E30 M3s as well, another unique Sport Evo attribute. Outside of that, those I think are pretty much all of the upgrades and modifications on this car. Condition, I can't really pull out too many blemishes and focus on those for you because, well, I just haven't really found many. We will have a full rundown of every blemish we can find in the photo studio and share that with anybody that is interested in adding this Sport Evo to their stable. And I can tell you the best part is yet to come. That's the drive. As mentioned earlier, this Sport Evo is part of the San Francisco collection, this group of 6 cars that we've recently acquired. And well, a couple of them we actually had to keep for our own collection. They are pretty notable cars, one being a lightweight PTG wide body that we'll be featuring in another upcoming video here pretty soon, going over some very special M3 lightweights. But this car fit pretty well in this homologation section of this collection, and certainly would make a great addition to anybody else that is looking to have a final iteration, a special edition of each of the M3s, those being naturally aspirated 2-door variants. And I can tell you that driving this Sport Evo, any Sport Evo, but driving this Sport Evo is a real treat. I'm very, very happy with the mechanical integrity of this car, and that's what happens when you buy a car from a franchised dealership principal. He certainly is going to take great care of his equipment, and this car is in line with those other cars that we've purchased from this collection. It's a really top shelf example that certainly would bode well with any very discerning enthusiast. 21,700 kilometers is 13,400 or 500 miles, something like that, and that's really low, and the car drives exactly like it should for a very low mileage car. It presents like a very low mileage car. The condition of the paint is exceptional, and you know, it's about as nice as they get. I don't know that we've had very many Sport Evos that were physically present as nice and as clean as this example does. And the red on cloth is a great option. It's relatively getting thumbs up everywhere we go. It's a relatively attractive color combo. The cloth is going to be a little bit more preferred over the leather, we've found. And the guys like black, the guys like gals like the red too. It's about 2 blacks to 1 red is our production split. One of the confidence-inspiring facts about this car's history is right before the most recent owner took delivery of the car back in 2018, before it left Germany even, the car had a very big service done at BMW Classic, where everything was just gone through and checked over, and they are a great group of well, enthusiasts actually, and we've become very lucky and fortunate to have met and become friends with quite a few of those guys and gals, and it's been a great relationship, and certainly miss seeing them this year at Monterey, and thankfully we were able to meet up with quite a lot of those friends during Pebble or Amelia Island earlier this year. But I think that was probably like the last big gathering of enthusiasts for 2020, as sad as that is to say. Fun. This car, this chassis is just telepathic. One of the best things about the Sport Evo is the power to weight ratio. 238 horsepower, which is up from the 192. It's almost 50 horsepower difference. But the weight is also down, and proportionally to, say, a standard E30 North American spec, the Sport Evo is almost as light proportionally as, say, a lightweight as the E36 variant. And that is a great combination when you are building a homologation spec race car. And they built these cars by hand, actually, and that was, I'm sure, one of the allures, it still is to this day, of the model. It's the end of an era, that's for sure. One of the absolute best things to do with E30 M3s, frankly, is to take them out and drive them, but do so at a track. And I am very fortunate and thankful that I was able to take my Sport Evo, a car that we've owned now going on almost 6 years. It was the very first Sport Evo that we brought into North America, and I just could never part with it, and took it to the National Corvette Museum. If you've not been to that racetrack, you need to go. It is a fantastic complex. The track is awesome. It's known for being more of a high horsepower track, and so first track day of the year, first time ever tracking an E30 of any variant, especially an M3, and of course might as well take a Sport Evo. It was a bit unnerving at first, but by the end of the first day, I was smiling bigger ear to ear than anybody else on the track, running with the Chin Motorsport group, a great group of guys, and a really well-run event. I actually had to go several more times throughout the rest of the year with those guys. Just recently to Road Atlanta with well, Chin again. It was a fantastic experience. And if you've not run on track before, I certainly advise getting some driver coaching and training. The BMW Car Club offers a really great set of driving education events, especially the street survival program for the younger drivers. If you've not yet learned of the street survival program or the car club at all, you need to go to the website bmwcca.org and become a member. The magazine alone is worth the cost of admission, but both really great programs that keep drivers' skill sets tuned up and alert, and I'm very thankful for all those years of doing those driving schools with the car club that really got me into the track scene. And taking a Sport Evo to the track certainly is a bucket list item that I was very happy to check back in May of this year. It was a early first track event, I think, of the year, and at least for the Chin Group as well as NCM. I think it was the first event they were open to, so everybody was safe and masked and all, you know, getting used to the new rules and regulations, and definitely one of the highlights of my 2020. Just goes. I love how freely this engine revs. But it also matches the gears really nicely. It's a very smooth gearbox. It's a very easy, natural clutch and flywheel relationship. I have to say I feel most confident driving this, probably more so than any other manual setup. It's easy. And fun. Oh, very, 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 very fun. There are lots of differences with the Sport Evolution versus the standard E30 M3s. Of course, the aerodynamics, the front and rear adjustable spoilers are certainly quite noticeable. The red seat belts, of course, we talked about the option codes with the interior, and of course the Sport Recaro seats. These seats are really, really good, and they're super comfortable on road trips, much more so than most other seats, frankly. The suspension is about 10 millimeters lower. The front fenders are actually wider, allowing for a wider wheel and tire package. The bumpers, the glass, weight reduction is abounds everywhere. There's a really great book. This was 17,960 emotions, or something very close to that title, and it has all the FIA drawings and breakdowns of where those grams were saved, because everything was measured down to the gram. Really cool book. Not an inexpensive book or easy book to get, but if you own a Sport Evo, you should have that book. Also would note that when you order a Sport Evo back then, you could then also go through the full list of options, like those rear sun blinds. You could get the rear headrests. You could get lots of different options of the radio. You could have air conditioning, which this car does not have. It's less weight that way. You could have a sunroof, which this car does have. You could even have manual windows. And our battery has let go. The options were, well, pretty widespread across the line, and I have to say that I don't know that we've had two Sport Evos that are exactly the same relative to the option codes. There's a very diverse range of build sheets with these cars. I appreciate everybody tuning into this drive video and walk around the Sport Evo. It is available. It will be on our website soon. If you're interested to learn more, do drop us a call. Email address is at the bottom of the screen as well. That will certainly be a good way to get a full disclosure, full perspective of what this car is, pricing information. It is one of, well, 4 Sport Evolutions right now that we have on property and in process, several of which actually have sold before they even hit the market. That is quite commonplace with these Sport Evos, and certainly be looking forward to connecting with the next enthusiast and keeping the car in the right ownership path and support them throughout their ownership experience, and set them up for success with the future proofing of the rejuve program yet to have been completed on this car. But we got a pretty good start on it. It's in really great shape. So thanks again for tuning in. Stay tuned for more. See ya.